Welcome, guys. Welcome. Good evening. Good evening. Come on down. Come on in. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. God, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. My voice is not 100%. I still have a cough. Listen, let me tell you. Those of you that have this cough is not a local cough. It's an international, global cough. That flu is just trying to snatch people's soul. And let me tell you, it is. I'm not praying for it for my worst enemy. I don't even know who am I enemy for, but I will not pray for my worst enemy to get it because it's not easy. Good evening, hi Billy. Billy say muela, muela, muela. Good evening, welcome guys. Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, the 4th of February. It's my month. February is my month. You guys know that. Those of you who follow me, my diehard super fans, you know that February is my month. It's my birth month, and I'm celebrating all month long. Okay, all month long we're celebrating. Welcome to the show, every single one of you. This is our first show, in February. Yep, I believe it's the first. It's the first one. I've been trying to preserve my voice for today, but listen, that cough, and let me tell you, it snatches my soul at nighttime. So at nighttime is when all hell breaks loose, and I just can't stop coughing, and it's just crazy. Um, if you guys have that cough, make sure you're keeping your immune system boosted and keeping yourself, hydrated and taking your vitamins and all of that good stuff. Somebody told me yesterday to get garlic syrup, a specific one, the one by Sister Nats. So I'm gonna be looking for that one. I was supposed to go look for it today, but that didn't happen. Anyways, today is another show, and I am happy to have you guys join me wherever you are locked in Radio Land. This is a special show that we do once a month, where it relates to the RAYASTA Foundation and stroke in terms of management, prevention, care, caregivers. We've been doing this for a couple of months now, and I know a few of you have absolutely enjoyed the show, so much so you asked for repeats of the show, right? And we had a repeat last week, Tuesday, with Dr. Ilshat and Dr. Andrew. And this evening, we have Dr. Meade is going to be stopping by. So I am so excited to have her on. So it's just going to be the two of us. We're going to be chatting. We're going to be talking until she gets tired of me, okay? We're going to be talking until she gets tired of me. If you guys have any questions, I always encourage you guys to have your questions ready so we can ask our guest. Obviously, she can't answer every question because she's not God, right? But she's going to do her best to take all questions into consideration, and hopefully she's able to answer. And if not, you can always check back later for the response, by visiting her at her office, or by speaking with her at when you visit the hospital. So we want to get this show on the road. What about us? Hi guys, I know really all of us there, all of y'all there. Good evening to my Facebook crew. Good evening to you. Welcome to the show. Those of you who are logged in on Facebook to the Ray Asta Foundation Facebook page, as well as my pages. So that's Jael Joseph page, as well as Black Island Girl page. Those of you who are logged in on YouTube, good evening to you. And those of you who are on LinkedIn, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. My name is Jael Joseph. If it's your first time here, and we're about to start the show and get this on the road. Like I mentioned, we have Dr. Portia Meade, who's going to be stopping by to be talking to us. We're going to be talking. I really and truly want to understand a little bit more about stroke in terms of gender and the impact on gender. And so that's gender. When I say gender, male, female, non-binary, however you choose to identify, that's up to you and your pants. But we're going to be talking to her about, how does gender impact you in terms of, or in terms of a stroke, and how you're impacted. So without further ado, I just want to welcome her to the show. I want to remind you guys to ensure that you're following the RAYASTA Foundation page. That's RAYASTA Foundation. This show is brought to you through the RAYASTA Foundation. Once a month, they stop on here and give you really good information that you will definitely and truly benefit from. I also want to remind folks who are interested in being a caregiver or doing the caregiver course that's going to be coming up soon to also check out the Ray Asta Foundation Facebook page as well as Ray Asta Foundation.org. Let's welcome Dr. Meade to the show. Good evening, Dr. Meade.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Jael. Good evening to you and to all of your followers, all of your listeners. Thank
Welcome
you
to
so
the
much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. I am excited to hear all the good stuff and the bad that you have to share. So thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know as a medical professional, your schedule is always super busy, even when you're on your off days. Because off days you have to check yourself, you have to do your self care, you have to do your laundry, you have to clean up your house if you don't have a maid, that is. Um,
Mhm.
and of course, you still take the time to come on here and share with us. So I truly appreciate you for taking the time out to speak with us this evening.
You're welcome.
All right, I want to get into it a little bit, and we want to give folks a little bit of background about who you are, so they're familiar, they're aware, because they might say, "Boy, where'd Jill get that doctor? She pulled a doctor out of a bag." People don't know, right? Not everybody knows. So we want to introduce the audience to you. So if you could share with us a little bit about who you are, and just give us a little background on your journey in medicine.
Okay. All right. So, as Jael said, my name is Dr. Meade, Portia Meade. I've been a doctor for quite a few years, and a specialist in internal medicine for about 10 years now. I work at the hospital in Dominica, the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, where I am one of the internists serving the medical ward. So that's
Wow.
basically it.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about your practice in internal medicine. What does that really entail? Because somebody might say internal medicine, like all medicine not internal now. Like what
So,
exactly?
so internal medicine really is the study of all the internal organs. So we deal with the brain, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, liver, spleen. So we cover a wide range of diseases, such as arterial hypertension, diabetes, stroke included, um, sickle cell disease. So we just don't do surgeries. So gynecological surgeries, that is for the OBGYN. Any cutting that needs to be done, really, we would investigate what is going on in the patient and basically pass the patient on to the surgeon to deal with. Yeah. So
Wow.
we don't
Okay.
do surgery.
All right. Well, that's interesting to know. And thank you very much for giving us a little bit of background and educating us on what internal medicine is. Those of us who don't know. What would you say, Dr. Mead, is probably your most rewarding or even most challenging aspects of your work as a medical doctor?
Hmm. So most rewarding for me is, I guess, being stopped along my journey, being stopped along the way, being in town, and having people say, Dr. Mead, hi, how are you? You saved my mom's life, or you took care of my dad, or you took care of my cousin, my son, my daughter. So these are to me my biggest rewards. Internal medicine is difficult. It's complex. It's very complicated. We get a wide range of patients, so we have to figure out their diagnosis and give proper treatment too. It is not always clear cut. Some patients require a lot of investigation to actually get to the bottom line diagnosis and cure or treatment is also very challenging at times, with limited resources, limited technology. But we do our best. I have to say that we do our best to save as many lives as possible. We wake up every day looking forward to going to work and serving our patients. Unfortunately, sometimes it does not go the way we want it to go, the way the family members expect it to go. Because we are not miracle workers, unfortunately, we do not work miracles. There's only one person who can do that, and that's the Almighty. So we call on Him for strength, and we go to work with the intentions of saving lives.
Wow, that's beautiful. Could you share probably a memorable experience from your career that shaped how you approach like patient care?
Hmm. I think it was one of the most memorable experiences for me is during COVID. Um, we had a patient who came in flu-like symptoms. She had a test done in our accident and emergency department, and the test was negative. So she was admitted to the ward, and the flu-like symptoms worsened. There were moments when she just wanted somebody to be there with her, to hold her hand, to touch her back, just the human factor. We were able to afford that to her. I remember one Sunday being on the ward with her and just holding on to her. There was a time when she almost fell off the bed. I was close enough to be able to go and run to her and hold her up. And we spent minutes chatting. Um, but then we still repeated her COVID test, and it turned out that she was positive. Now, this is a patient that I had interacted with, and I guess, not with the face mask because the initial test said she was negative. And then after she passed, unfortunately, um, but still, in all of the fear of COVID was heightened at that time. We were still able to give her the dignity of reaching out to her and spending the time with her, sitting with her, chatting with her, holding her hand. And yeah, I'll never forget that.
Wow. Were you scared? Like, were you scared for yourself, knowing that you lost a patient to something that still was kind of unexplainable? Like, because a lot of people, there was still so much investigation going on COVID, and there was so much uncertainty.
Mhm.
Knowing that you touched her, knowing that you held her up, knowing that you did all of those with a negative assumption that it was she was negative. What,
Mhm.
how did you feel like?
Well, I have to say when we got the results, the fear came in. Being human myself, because doctors are very much human beings, the same way like everyone else. Um, but I was happy. I was happy that in her moments when she, you know, was transitioning to the other side, that she was able to feel that dignity, that someone was there with her, and that she wasn't alone. Yeah. So yes, I was scared, but I did not contract it. Thank God. At that moment, I did not. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Mead, if this is COVID, listen, this is like it does not stop. It's like a never-ending cough, and it's a dry cough that just
Mhm.
does not want to go away. And I've had it for a few days now.
Have you
And
been tested?
I have to drink some spice. Me tell you,
Hmm.
I drink everything I can drink under the roof. Everything anybody tell me to drink, I drink in it.
But have you been tested?
For COVID,
Hmm.
it's not COVID.
Any fever?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
no fever.
Okay.
No, I didn't get the body. I don't get body aches. No, it was just a
Okay.
cough. It just came about as a cough, and then I lost my voice completely, and the cough just has
Hmm.
not stopped. Like
Okay.
I've had it since Wednesday last week, so it's going into one week
Okay.
now. tomorrow will be 1 week. It's just
Yeah.
a
So
constant.
so just look up on your vitamin C. Drink some honey.
I've been
Drink
doing
some honey.
I've been doing
Okay.
turmeric, ginger, honey, lime. I've
Lemon.
been doing everything,
You'll be
everything.
fine.
Yes,
You'll be fine.
hopefully. So I want to get us into the conversation. We've spoken about COVID. We spoke about all of these things, about your experience, but I want to kind of get into the stroke conversation.
Mhm.
With your experience in medicine, how common is stroke in patients you've treated?
So strokes are relatively very common. Um, I would dare say at least one in every four patients that we see. Yes, yes, it is very, very common. We've seen an increase in the numbers of stroke patients, one after Maria, after Hurricane Maria, but as well as after COVID, right? We have seen an increase in stroke patients. Now, what we need to understand about stroke is that it is a discontinuation of blood flow to a certain part of the brain, right? So there are two main types. There's the non-bleeding stroke, or what we call the ischemic stroke, and then there's the hemorrhagic stroke, which is the bleeding stroke, right? So patients come in with either one of them. The one that is most common in our setting is the non-bleeding stroke, which is the ischemic stroke, right? So yes, we have seen quite an increase in the numbers of our stroke patients.
You mentioned that it increased mostly after COVID or during COVID, and even now. I mean, that is like 1 in 4. That is a lot,
It's
right?
an estimation. It's just an estimation, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, yes. But I mean, it's still a lot because I know, like, of speaking to other doctors, they'll say like at least one stroke a day happens. Like people experience at least a stroke a day, and I'm like, that's wild. What do you think? In your and this is your opinion, obviously, because you cannot speak for everybody in Dominica, and obviously would have to get the data from the
Mhm.
hospital that would speak to exactly what may have changed. But in your opinion, what do you think is causing so many people to end up in the hospital with stroke?
So one of the main causes of strokes, it like the medical causes, hypertension, right, is one of the main ones. The other factors include things like diabetes, high cholesterol, smoking, a sedentary lifestyle as well, not exercising, and obesity. Right. So these are some of the main causes, the main medical causes
Mhm.
of of stroke. So unfortunately, our numbers of hypertensive patients, that is increasing. Our number of diabetic patients, that is also increasing. So as we see an increase in these non-communicable diseases, then we see an increase in the number of stroke patients.
So essentially, we're not taking care of ourselves.
We are not taking proper care of ourselves, right? We're
Wow.
not exercising enough. We are not conscious. We're not very conscious about what we eat and how we eat and when we eat. We are not conscious about the amount of water that we're drinking, the amount of sunlight that we're getting, and the amount of rest. I can't stress on that enough. I tell my patients all the time the 5 pillars. Make sure you get enough rest. Make sure you have a good relationship with the sun. Early morning, late afternoon, right? The sun is very important. Your vitamin D levels, enough water,
You can take
because we,
supplements, right? You can take supplements
you
if you like.
can, you can, you
Because I
can,
take
you
supplements
can.
because I am not about that sun life. So I take
Yeah,
supplements.
you can, but I mean, a more natural way is to get the exposure from the natural sunlight,
Mhm.
right? Getting enough fruits and vegetables, ingesting enough fruits and vegetables, exercising, and sleep. It is amazing how sleep impacts your health. Sleep deprivation is one of the causes of hypertension. Right? So that is something that we need to be mindful of.
Wow, this is very scary for us as Dominicans, as Caribbean people, to know that, you know, this is you are seeing more people getting like hypertension or coming in with hypertension as well as diabetes, which obviously are leading causes of stroke, and as a result it's increasing the numbers of people who end up in the hospital. Do you find that men and women experience different challenges when it comes to stroke prevention? I want to focus on prevention, treatment, and recovery, but we can do it in stages. So
Mhm.
what, in your opinion, obviously you see quite a few people. What are some of the challenges you think women and men versus women experience when it comes to stroke?
So what we've seen is that there is a higher number of men who suffer with strokes, right? However, as the aging process continues, in the older ages, then the women tend to be more, have a higher increase in their numbers, right?
Mm.
So in the early 50s, 60s, the men tend to be more prone to getting strokes, but later on, it's the women.
Wow. And why do you think? Well, you mentioned obviously hypertension, obesity, or diabetes. One of the things that I've heard other doctors talk about is the fact that men don't like to take their medication. Um,
Mhm.
and like, I know we're going into this, we're getting into like the busiest, partiest time of the year in Dominica, at least.
Mhm.
And it's scary to know that the numbers have increased even before this season, and it is going to be even scarier to know that the numbers may increase more after the season, because people tend to stop taking their medication and all of these things. What would you say is something that you hear a lot of men say is the reason why they probably ended up in the hospital, because of a stroke, besides obviously the non-communicable diseases that we all pretty much like may develop? What would you say is the main story on their lips why they feel that they ended up there?
Well, so first of all, our men generally, I'm sorry to say, but our men generally don't take proper care of themselves on time, right? So our women would generally check their health, check their blood pressures, check their weight, check their blood sugars more frequently than our men, right? So we sooner catch hypertension in a woman than in a man because they just don't present themselves early enough to the physician. So when we do catch them, it's already far gone. It's already long standing. In terms of the hypertension has been there for a while, the diabetes has been there for a while. And our men, they don't go to the doctors. They don't like to go to the doctors, and they don't like to take medication, right? Because of some of the side effects. So it's a big taboo that some of the antihypertensive medication, it does impact negatively
Well, what
on on
can
their
they make another?
libido.
Can they make another medication? Because I feel like that is like a recurring. Like, it's not like today we know that that's happening. Like,
So
I've
it's
heard.
not every Yeah, but it's not every medication that does that,
So is
right?
it
It's not
cheapo?
every medication. Sorry.
The cheapo one?
It's not every medication that does that.
Okay, okay.
Really, it's to sit and have a conversation with your physician as to which
Mm.
is the best medication for you. It's trial and error sometimes, to make sure that the medication that you're on has minimal side effects. Now, something that we have to remember is that one side effect of one medication is not going to affect the entire population that takes it, right?
Mhm.
So if everyone takes one particular medication, if you have 100 people taking one particular medication, only some and a small percentage of these 100 people will actually have side effects, right? So it's, you take your medication. If you find that there are changes within your body, things that, will not, is not only concerned with your hypertension, then you go back to your doctor. You have a conversation with your doctor, switch the medication, get another one. But unfortunately, the men tend to, I guess not only the men, perhaps the women as well, but we tend not to return in a timely manner to the physician, right? So then by the time they go back to the doctors, it's because something else has gone wrong. And
Mm,
now they need us to fix it, right? So
mm,
yeah, it doesn't work that way. There are many medications, and first line treatment for these non-communicable diseases is really lifestyle changes, right? So what I tend to do with my patients, depending on how high like the blood pressure is or the blood sugar is, I do lifestyle changes with them. So I ensure that they get enough rest, they cut down on their salt intake or their sugar intake, they drink enough water, get enough rest, watch their cholesterol, watch what you eat, make sure you're moving and getting enough rest. So then there's also the factor where you have to check yourself. So the blood pressure checks have to be done. The blood sugar checks have to be done. So I always encourage people to, we have televisions in our homes, we have all of these smart devices. You should have a blood pressure machine in your house. You should have one. You should have a blood sugar machine in your house as well, right? That way you can check yourself on a very regular basis. So sometimes I give my patients what I call homework, right? And I have them check their blood pressures 4 times a day for about 7 days because there is what is called a circadian pattern. So the blood pressure is not always the same during the entire day. No, it's
also
not.
based on what you eat too.
It's based on what you eat, the amount of salt that you put into your diet, right? So I have my patients check their blood pressures about 4 times a day during the 4 peak periods, right? Which is upon waking in the morning, whatever time that is. If you wake at 4 or 5, that's okay. You check your blood pressure and you write it down. Then there is the 11 o'clock period, it's 3 o'clock period. So mid morning, mid afternoon, and then at night before you go to bed. You check yourself 4 times a day. And then we can sit and say, well, okay, your blood pressure is highest at this time, or it's good at this time. So maybe you need medication to cover this period as opposed to another. But knowing your body, understanding your body is key. And if you find that you're placed on medication and it's not going well, because there are some medications that cause cough, for example. If you find after you've taken your medication you start to cough, instead of just stopping the medication and saying, oh, this medication is not working, it's making me more sick than getting me better, return to your physician and tell your doctor that, boy, doc, this medication, since I had to take it, I've been coughing so often, or this has been happening to me. Have
Mm,
that conversation, switch the medication, and by all means, stay with your medication. So
yeah.
our men, people generally would abandon their treatment, and that is where we run into problems.
Wow. I want to talk a little bit about our women because a large population of our viewers are women. And the women, you have men. So we're talking about the men too. So make sure you check for your men too. But would you say there are particular health conditions or even lifestyle factors that put women, especially when they are older, at a higher risk of getting stroke?
Hmm. It would be so as we get older, there is damage that occurs within our vessels, our blood vessels, particularly our arteries, right? Once the arteries get damaged, then it does increase your risk of getting of getting strokes, especially if you've had family history of it, or if you have long standing history of either diabetes or hypertension or even heart disease, right? So for our women, it is an aging process. It is with age that we see the majority of our patients, but it doesn't mean that we don't get young women in their late 30s, in their 40s and 50s with stroke. It doesn't mean that. Unfortunately, I think women, we might be, I guess, caught up with careers and work at home, which never ends, um, and not get enough time to exercise, right?
Mhm.
To exercise and eat properly and to check ourselves. We get so caught up with life and children, and yeah, so then, we do see that happening a lot. Yeah.
Mm. In your experience, would you say, or do women receive the same level of awareness and urgency in stroke treatment as men?
Repeat that question, please.
So would you say that, like in your own experience, do women
Mhm.
receive the same level of awareness and urgency in stroke treatment as men would?
So we find that our population, they should be well educated in terms of looking out for stroke, attending early enough to your doctor or to the emergency department once you feel the signs or well, once you see the signs or feel the symptoms. I
Yes.
know that the at the health center, at the district levels, the nurses, the doctors, they spend time speaking to patients, raising the awareness for in both men and women, right?
Mhm.
So I think across the board, everyone is aware of things that they should look out for. It's on the airways as well. I have heard it. Things to look out for and to present yourself. Let your family know, you try to raise your hand today and there is weakness. You try to hold a conversation with your family and there's weakness to your face. The words are not coming out the way that they should, and to get help. Once you find these things are happening, really and truly, we have a small window period, right?
Mhm.
Because the damage to the brain happens in minutes, right? So if you get to the doctor as early as possible, as early as you feel the symptoms, don't waste any time, then there is a better chance of a more positive outcome than a negative one.
Yeah, so
And both
that's
men and women are aware. Yeah.
yeah, that's very important for the viewers, listeners to note is that you can actually not necessarily prevent it in those moments, but make sure that they get help quicker so that it does not reach the extreme parts of where the person, you know, you catch it early. In other words, you want to be able to catch it early. And if somebody's speech is slurred, obviously, like sometimes they may not even know that their speech is
Hmm.
slurred, but you're hearing it, so
Hmm.
tell them, so say something. Don't just let it go, because that person could potentially be having a stroke, and you could
Hmm.
help minimize at least the impact of it. um from your medical perspective, uh how does your approach to patient care help individuals make better lifestyle choices to prevent strokes and even other medical conditions?
So understanding what the diseases are is paramount in importance. So we explain to the patients, especially our So we've seen that the two main causes of a lot of our complications, so things like strokes, kidney disease, heart disease, they all start off somewhere, right? So it's either that you have a strong family history, or you're diabetic or hypertensive. So once you have these underlying problems, then you need to be better educated about your disease and take action as soon as early as possible and not wait for the complication. So it's understanding what hypertension is, understanding the potential complications of it. And the same thing goes for diabetes and heart disease. So it's really knowing yourself, knowing if you have a condition, knowing how to take care of yourself. And once you follow those guidelines, then you find that the complications of these underlying diseases are a lot less. I've seen patients and have been able to work with patients to take them off their diabetic medication. Right? I have one gentleman in particular. He is so strict with his diet and the time that he goes into the sun and the time that he sleeps and his exercise routine. And this man will not put any and anything into his system, into his body. And right now, he's off his anti-diabetic medication. Right? He follows himself very, very carefully. I mean, I've told him that, we need to get him on platforms where he can
You need to
actually
come on the show to talk, to tell us how
I
you did
agree.
and what it's
I
like. We
agree.
want him on the show.
I agree. I agree to explain to other patients, how he was able to get this perfect control of his underlying disease. Right? I mean, anything can happen at any time, really, but the better, care that you take of your body, then the less likely that you will have these catastrophic complications of any of these underlying non-communicable diseases.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mead, for that. I'm interested to know if you could speak on the importance of community awareness and even education in stroke prevention. Because, yes, you mentioned that it's on the radio, but how many people actually listen to like the details of some of the ads? Sometimes people don't even pay attention. Sometimes the ad comes on in the heat of the conversation that was happening before the ad, and in that ad moment, the attorney is talking about, oh, what so and so was saying. Yes, that person had called her. That person, you don't find that person bold face, and you've completely missed the PSA that is educating you on stroke prevention. What would you say should, or how could you speak to the importance of community awareness and education in preventing strokes?
Well, there have been many drives towards that. I have worked in the healthcare system, in the district healthcare system. And we have actually had sessions with the patients who would gather for our diabetic clinics or our hypertensive clinics. I have sat down with the nurses and given many talks, many educational sessions on these diseases. Right? And I'm sure this is something that is ongoing. There have been different health fairs across the island where healthcare professionals speak to patients, interact with patients. I think a lot of educational activities are being done. It's just for the
Are people
public.
actually going? Yeah. Are they
Yes,
actually going and taking heed and understanding the importance of it?
yes.
I feel like we've gotten into a place where we're very nonchalant about our health in Dominica. Like, I feel like, and I was talking to like a doctor friend, and one of the things that she was saying, because obviously, someone like me who straddles both Canada and Dominica, I come from a system, a Canadian system, where there's a health system that allows you to gain access to the emergency, your family doctor, whenever you need to. However, I've spoken about, like, I speak about the negative side, the cons to that, versus being like in Dominica and knowing that you can go to any medical doctor and get seen right away. Like, I'll give you an example. I had to get a procedure done, and the length of time it was going to take me to get the procedure in Canada was too long. I came to Dominica to do it. Like, like That's just the bottom line, because it's a system where unless it's urgent, they're not going to fast track to see you, right? Now we're in a
Mhm.
system that where we have the facility, I hope that we have a lot of medical doctors. I know there are a lot of, like, I know of a lot of medical doctors that are very well qualified, and people are still so, I mean, we have like the district doctors, we have district nurses, we have family nurse practitioners on districts, we have all of these
Mhm.
things that a lot of other countries don't have. And I'm not, like, a lot of times we try to knock our system
Mhm.
because we feel like every other system is better than our system. But I'm telling you, like, as not just as somebody who's lived in Canada, who understands the Canadian system, but also somebody who's black in Canada and understanding how black health is oftentimes neglected, right? And being in Dominica, knowing that I could call up a doctor here and say, can I get an appointment next week, or can I get an appointment, and I can get my appointment today, and next day I could be doing my ultrasound, or could be doing my mammogram, or could be, rather than waiting for months. So I mean, I can
Mhm.
speak on Canada versus Dominica because I've lived in both systems, right? But I find it very, very strange. Probably I could ask you, probably you have an answer, and probably folks on the live might have a better answer as to why it is we don't want to go. Is it a cost thing? Like, we think, because even like Dr. Wallace was here a couple weeks ago at the beginning of January. We're talking about mental health. And people, I have heard so much in Dominica that, oh, it's so expensive to go to a doctor for, or a therapist for mental health. But then she explained that you can go through the regular system, like going to the health center and getting
Mhm.
seen. So, and it being so easy. And for me, I sat there and I was like, but wait, that is actually like a thing. Like, we can actually get seen quicker here than anywhere else. What exactly is the problem? Why are we not? Because when we have statistics, I mean, numbers like 1 in 4, or every day somebody gets a stroke, like that is
Mhm.
265 strokes a year in a 70,000 person population, where half the population are people over the age of, let's say, 25, 35. Everybody else is younger. So what is going on? Like, what exactly is the problem? Can you enlighten me? Do you even know? Or probably you don't, I mean, you can say you don't know,
Well,
even if you don't know.
no, no, no. Well, what I do know is that the public healthcare system, it is very much alive and well and working. A patient can go to their health center if they're not feeling well. They can go to the health center and be seen by the district medical officer. If there's a major complication that they are unable to deal with or that they think needs further attention, then the patients are then referred to the hospital where we have the specialist clinic. So on Thursdays, for example, my department, we have our clinics, right? Sometimes it's three of us, sometimes it's four, depending on what is going on at the time, if somebody is on leave. But we do have our clinics, and a patient can be seen in the clinic, right? Unfortunately, because of the amount of specialists that we have in internal medicine, not everyone can be seen when they want to be seen, or when they would probably figure would be a better time for them to be seen, right?
Mhm.
So if you go to your healthcare system now, you go to your healthcare, um, your district
Yeah.
doctor.
Mhm.
You need to see the specialist. The referral is given to you. Some patients, unfortunately, they forget. They don't go to the hospital on time. They say, oh, well, next week I will go for my appointment. They don't go right away. And sometimes when they do go right away, because our clinics are filled, there is a little bit of a waiting period. But the district medical officers, and the doctors at the hospital, I think we have a good enough relationship where, because I've had it done, where the district medical officer would call me up and say, Dr. Meade, I have a patient, and I really think that this patient needs to be seen sooner rather than later. And we do try to accommodate patients all the time. So the access to the healthcare system is there. The access to these specialized clinics, it's also there, right? It is available. So it's up to the patients to decide that, they want to make a change. They're feeling certain things that they're not supposed to be feeling. It's not normal that they have headaches every morning when they wake. It's not normal that they're losing weight. So my advice would be to, take your healthcare, take your personal health seriously. Find a doctor, whether it's in the public system or in the private system, but find a doctor. And the doctors are available. They are available in the public system. You can see your district medical officer when it's scheduled for them to be there. You can see them. So
Yeah.
don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. Don't waste time, because your health, once you lose your health, then that's it.
Yeah, I think
Your
we
health
really need
is
to take this
really,
seriously. I think we really need to take this seriously. And it is so important because just hearing, like, you amplify the similar sentiments as Dr. Wallace, it's like folks need to take this seriously. A huge factor I feel people probably sometimes don't like to go to their district is because they don't want them to know their business, like, so they prefer to wait and venture outside of their district. That might be a reason. Somebody is actually chiming in. So Vili Cartel Lebel is saying, when things are free, we take it for granted. One, and number two, our population believe that we are not well trained as opposed to overseas doctor. That is true. Number three, our people spoil. They want it now. They don't like to wait. That's three. So she highlighted three things that she felt may be possible scenarios where people why people are not, and what she said about, we thinking that doctors here are less qualified than doctors outside. That is a real thing. And I'm telling you, I'm the complete opposite. I put my more of my faith in doctors in Dominica than I will ever put my faith in doctors in Canada. We may have in Canada might have more access to specialists,
all and technology.
technology.
Mhm.
However, I put, like, I remember I had a condition and I was treated like a guinea pig in Canada for months because they did not know what was going on, to the point where they put me on steroids that caused insomnia. And it was one thing after the next, and they just could not figure it out. And I come to Dominica, and in 1 week, they figured it out in Dominica. In 1 week, three doctors saw me, and it wasn't in no private practice. It was right at the hospital. I walked in like a regular off the street. I went in and they saw me and were able to, one of them being actually Dr. Andrew, who was actually on the program recently, and she remembered, my situation, and they were able to figure it out.
Mhm.
So I feel like we need to dismantle that theory in our minds, that because as far as I'm concerned, our doctors are just as well trained. I know one of the factors that people might hinder people is foreign doctors and not having the understanding or not understanding what they're saying. I've actually had people say, I don't really like going to foreign doctors in Dominica because they don't understand some of our situation, or another thing is that they may have had contraindications to medications because of like I drink in bush, and they might give me a medication but they don't understand that the bush might have certain things that in the medication already, and these kinds of things. So
Mhm.
not the cultural aspect of it may be missing when, but I still feel like a lot of the foreign doctors try their best to integrate. and understand and even pull. Like I know one particular foreign doctor who's called on local doctors if they're not sure about something, you know? And you can always get a second opinion. You don't have to always listen to just what that person is saying, right? If they tell
Mhm.
you to take ibuprofen for this and you feel it in your stomach, well, but I don't take ibuprofen because I take it and I've been taking ibuprofen and it's not working. To get a second opinion, we have
Mhm.
so much more leeway. Like in Canada, it's so hard to get a second opinion. It's so difficult because you go to your
Mhm.
you go to your doctor, right?
Mhm.
And people need to
Mhm.
understand, Dominicans need to understand, and I know we complain a lot, and I feel like we need to stop this nonsense and start really focusing on our health and going to get the treatment that we need and nipping things in the butt early o'clock. I find that if I go to my doctor and I have a complaint in Canada, they send me to a specialist. If I don't like what the specialist had to say, I have to go back to my doctor, who has to now refer me to another specialist. So
Mhm.
imagine waiting 5 months to see a specialist, then to go to your doctor to wait another 5 months. By the time you see two specialists, it's a year.
Yeah.
It's a year. You probably
Yeah.
suffering. We don't have this in Dominica. You can
Mhm.
go Grand Bay, go Portsmouth, go like, and you can actually get second opinions, right? So,
Mhm.
so I
Yeah.
really feel, like we're not taking these things seriously, and we need to start focusing on or placing more emphasis on how we take care of ourselves, especially when it comes to non-communicable diseases, which are the main factors of stroke. They're the
Mhm.
ones that impact us the most. I want you to speak to the level of or advancement. So advancements in stroke treatment, to be specific. What sort of advancements or even recovery have you seen or do you know about that could probably give us some hope for the future?
Well, I do know that some of our patients, they actually have on hand aspirin at home, um, prophylactic for whatever reason, or perhaps somebody is on aspirin treatment in their family. And once they realize that, something is happening, daddy woke up today and he doesn't seem normal, something is wrong, he couldn't hold up his cup of tea, his speech is not very comprehensive, then they give them an aspirin, right? And then rush them to the hospital. So with time, I guess one of the changes that we've seen is that patients go quicker to access care than perhaps was available maybe 50 years ago, 40 years ago, right? So I can't say that 40 years ago I was where in school, but I guess accessibility is a main factor. People are now better able to get to the hospital and get the care that they need in a timely manner, right? Once the patients come in through the door at the hospital and it is identified as a potential stroke, then this patient is rushed in, right? And the waiting period to see a doctor is very minimal, right? So don't stay home with any, strange headaches, any weakness, any slurred speech. If you have blurred vision that was not there yesterday or a few hours ago, don't stay home with it. And wait till morning or anything like that. No, get to the hospital, access the care because the care is available.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing that with us. So the person that actually gave us the 3 points is actually Dr. Lewis. So she was just saying, "This is Dr. Lewis. Just call me Dr. Lewis or Billy. I have a question for the doctor." So we have a question coming up. So I want to encourage folks, if you have any questions, now is a really good time to drop your questions. We'll take them as they come. So the question is, what advice do you give people who drink during the festive season and withhold their medication because they want to indulge?
Your health is your responsibility, right? So let's just get that clear. Your health, how you're able to live your life, it depends on your health. If you have good health, then you can move mountains. If you don't have good health, then you're of,
Igual
you're less advantage, right? Right? So you have to weigh what is important. Either you want to have a wonderful carnival and not take your medication and then face any potential consequence that may arise at the short term because you want to enjoy yourself, or you take your medication and you say, okay, well, I'm taking medication. I can't drink half a bottle of vodka, or I can't have too many drinks because I am on medication. Really and truly, you ought not to mix alcohol with your meds. So you have to decide what is important to you. It's either your health or 2025 carnival. You decide. We can't make that decision for you. So that is something that we have seen as well. After the Christmas season, people are busy drinking alcohol, eating fruit cake, having a wonderful time, and then there's the avalanche of patients admissions at the hospital because medications are neglected, health is neglected, and then the health comes back to bite you because it becomes a problem. You can't afford to neglect your health because it's carnival season. No, 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 no. So my advice to Dr. Lewis, please tell everyone you know if they are on medication to neglect the alcohol, neglect the late nights, neglect the partying. Yes, you can enjoy yourself. I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself, of course, by all
water.
means, go and, sorry,
Drink water.
drink water, drink a fruit drink. We have sorrel, we have oranges, drink a fruit juice. You don't always have to have alcohol to have a good time. So it all depends on what is important to you. Don't expect us to be able to work a miracle for you after the fact. We can't. We can't.
Mm.
Okay, so
Don't
take care of
expect them to
yourself.
work miracles for you after the
We
fact.
can. We
Pascal, they
can.
cannot. All right?
And nowhere, not in Canada, not in the States, not in Mexico, not in China,
Nowhere.
nowhere can a doctor work a miracle, right? After the damage has been done, no matter where you go, the damage is the damage, right? And something that you said about our people not having, I guess, too much confidence in their own local doctors, that is rather unfortunate. Medicine is medicine is medicine. It's the same books that are read. The difference is the quality of the person who went to medical school, right? So if you send someone to medical school who is not very caring, who didn't really have medicine in their heart,
The
then what you
chosen
will get.
ones. The chosen ones versus the ones
Well,
who
I
are
wouldn't
the
call
ones who are
them.
the ones who are called and the few that are chosen.
But I'm not putting it that way. All I'm saying is that anyone can go to medical school, anyone can go to any school.
Mm.
The difference is your personality and how important is your career to you and to the people that you serve, right? We are servants. There is, I mean, yes, being a doctor, I guess, has its perks, but at the end of the day, what we are here to serve, right?
But you
And the
work, yeah, you
service
put in the
is
work.
yeah, the work goes in. It's a lot
Yeah.
of work. It's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of thinking, boy, I need to work on this patient. I need to make sure that this patient gets the care that they need. This patient is not doing too well. What can I change? What can I make better? It's a lot of thinking that goes behind, what you just see up front.
I think a huge part probably like because I'm thinking like because I always like to compare and I compare not because I'm looking for pros and cons. I'm just comparing because I'm like, okay, well, if I know this is cheaper there, I'm not gonna buy it. That's how I am, right? If I know it's gonna be cheaper there, I'm not gonna fall for it. You find that in foreign countries, like especially North America, that they press the Caribbean doctors so much when they're trying to integrate into their system that it probably puts like it almost works like a reverse psychology on our people, thinking that they have to go through that because they're less doctors than the others, or than people in North America. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm just
Mhm.
trying to play like devil's advocate and be like, well, probably it's like this own psychology that's worked into it to let us believe that you're not as good as they are. And I will highly disagree when it comes to, like, in terms of who is better or better best. Like, I have gotten, and people might say it's because I'm Jael Joseph, but I also don't like to use the Jael Joseph card. I like to go through the chain of commands. I'll call the office, I'll book my appointments, just like every man Jack, although sometimes I can get access to the actual doctor. But we have to be very aware that you can get to see a doctor when you need to see a doctor, and and that is a
Mhm.
privilege that we have. That is a privilege that we have in Dominica. Dr. Lewis is saying we need to talk about the age to start screening for NCDs, as they are one of the risk factors most common here. So probably you can shed some light on that for us in terms of the age, because for me, okay, and that's where I can use the pro and the con. For me, because of how the system in Canada is set up, you it's very much encouraged that you see your family doctor once a year. And
Mhm.
if you forget, the office will call you and remind you. So they will call you to come in to get
Mhm.
your regular checkup, whether you do your blood work, they do if you're due for a pap smear, and so on and so forth. What I find is different with Dominica is that that system is not in place, where people only go to the doctor when they're sick. Like, they don't go in to get a checkup. Like, they're always waiting for when they're sick for them to run.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Dr. Lewis brought up something very valuable there, or that we should talk about, or if you could shed some light on that.
Mhm.
When should people start screening for NCDs? NCDs are non-communicable diseases, guy. So when should
Yeah.
people start screening for these? Because as somebody who straddled a different system, I knew that I was pre-diabetes, and I was like, my doctor was like, you need to go lose weight, you need to change this, you need to change that, because you can actually reverse it. So I'm able to nip it in the butt. But how many people actually have that, or are afforded that kind of
Mhm.
privilege, so to speak? So if you could
Mhm.
share with us, so people can know when they need to pay attention, what they need to do, and when should they go in and get screened.
With the increase in sedentarism, um, bad eating habits, we've seen things like diabetes popping up in our younger population, right? So I totally agree with you. The regular checkups, they have to be a thing that we do every year. I tell people all the time, you have a car, you take your car in for servicing twice a year because you don't want anything to go wrong. The same thing applies to the body, right? Which is the vehicle of your soul. You have to take that vehicle of your soul to get its regular checkup. So this is something that has to really continue from the pediatric age, right? You don't wait until there is a problem. No, you have your checkups. The children need to have their annual checkups just as much as the adults. So once you start it in childhood, they know that every year they have to get their blood taken, their urine checked, their stool checked. They have to go see their doctor. Then it's something that really should carry on through life, through adult life. It is not wise to only start checking when you get a job, and you have um, a doctor attached to your workplace. No, you get that check done from childhood, right? That way there aren't any surprises, right? If you don't go to see a doctor 10 years, when you do go to see them and they tell you, okay, well, this is wrong and that is wrong, and when was the last time did you check for this? And you're like, oh, well, I haven't seen a doctor in how many years? No, no. You need to get your annual checks, right? So the healthcare system, it is set up that way that the children do get their regular vaccinations. They get access, right, to the district medical officer or the family nurse practitioner. We do have that. So I would encourage everyone to please get your checks at least once a year, at least, right? If you have an issue, if you have an underlying problem already, then those checks should be more frequent. Right? If your car is running and you know you have an oil leak, you don't you bring it in often to see your mechanic? You do. The same thing applies to the human body, and even more so because we can't buy parts. But you can't just go and buy a body part. You can buy a part for your vehicle. You can replace a vehicle, but you can't replace a human being.
Yes. Yes. So screening should start, or it should be
Childhood,
a
yeah,
continuous.
childhood one at least once a year.
So don't just stop when you because a lot of times we stop. We stop when the children are a certain age. We figure, oh, they're good, they have their vaccines, they're good, and we just stop. And then
Mhm.
it does not become from practice, in their life, and as a result, they don't see why they need to continue. And we have caused ourselves to be unhealthy with that practice. We've really caused ourselves to be unhealthy. Any other questions, guys? I want to open up the floor so folks who are on the live, if you want to ask any other questions. I just have one more question for Dr. Mead before we wrap up, but I want to make sure that anybody who has questions can take this opportunity to, drop your questions in the comment section so we can ask. Naomi says, here in the Virgin Islands as well, they remind you of your yearly checkup. So that happens in the Virgin Islands. Um, Somebody, I know there was one guy who came on who wanted us to wish him happy birthday. I think his name is John Ross. John Ross is celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Wishing you all the best. If you have any other questions, if not, we will wrap up with Dr. Mead, who's taking time out of her busy schedule to speak with us here this evening. My final question to you, Dr. Mead, is how can people learn more or seek help if they are concerned about their risk of stroke?
It would be to present yourself to your healthcare professional. Present yourself, get your blood pressure checked, your blood sugar checked, your BMI calculated, your weight, right? You have to try to be within the ideal weight for our race, right?
I mean, Dr.
Um,
Dr. Andrew give us some stats there about a 80 centimeter waist. And I was like, sir, when I measure the waist, I say, Dr. Andrew, that 80 centimeters looking like that is a proper meg Zoe.
No, well, the thing is, unfortunately, we in the Caribbean, we tend to think that the chubbier you are, the more overweight you are, the healthier you are. But that is a major misconception. Major, right? You have to maintain your weight within your ideal for your age and for your height, right? So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Yes, we did talk about fast, be fast. And this is something that we've been so she's just asking a question if we spoke about being fast. You did
Yes, she
mention
did.
that. Dr. Mead, it was a pleasure having you on the show here this evening. I hope it wasn't too much. I felt like I felt like we were at easy conversation, although let me tell you, if you see I wasn't coughing, would have definitely had more power. But I am really grateful to you for taking the time out to come in and talk to us on behalf of the RAYASTA Foundation, because they're the ones that really connected us with you, and you were able to come on and speak on, what you do and the importance of us taking care of our health, and how things show up differently in men versus women, and how men not taking care of themselves, and women, if all you have men, because the ratio of man to woman, because we know like a man can have two women, right? um so if you have two women, your two women, they should be telling you to get checked. Yeah. Dr. Me.
No comment.
I mean, the ratio, there's two women for each man, right? So we need to be looking out for our men and getting them to get themselves checked. I mean, I met a man about a week and a half ago who was sharing with me his prostate journey. And I mean, I'm gonna get him on the show at some point, because he's agreed already. I think he has an amazing story to share, and hopefully you can get, if you can get your patient, if your patient is interested in coming on, I would love to have him teach us and tell us how he was able to retrain his body and his mind, because it's a mental and well, first you have to retrain your mind,
Physical.
and then
Mhm.
your body will follow suit to get ourselves to a place where we can reverse these non-communicable diseases, which are the main causes of stroke. We need to get rid of those high numbers. We need to do better by ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves. We cannot lose more people. I mean, the think about. I mean, we say lose because not everybody dies after getting a stroke, but a lot.
No.
It takes a little while for you to get back on your feet, right? And the process it can take, you could sometimes lose your job, and so many different things can happen. Your lifestyle changes. You can't go back to doing certain things because you might not be speaking properly. There's so many situations. So I think that we need to do better. And Dr. Mead, I want to give you the final word. So you have the final say. If there's anything we missed and you feel like you can squeeze it in now, by all means, the floor is yours.
I think we covered everything, but really just to encourage our listeners, encourage everyone. So it's one teach another one. Um, Fundamentals. Take care of your health, right? Your health is all that you have, really. Once you get sick and your body is already ailing, the money cannot bring you back to when you were properly healthy. If you do have any underlying issues, don't just stop taking your medication because you want to party or because you just don't feel like taking any more medication. No, no. Consult your physician at all times, right? To look out for family members, look out for, as our listener has asked about fast. We did touch on it, but it's just to look out for certain things like the face drooping, weakness to an arm, weakness to a limb. Watch out for the speech and get to your physician, get to the emergency department as soon as you notice any of these signs or symptoms. And eat healthily. Eat healthily, get the exercise, get your exercise in at least 4 times a week. Try to do about an hour 4 times in the week and get your rest. Get your rest.
Get your rest. Get your rest. Dr. Mead,
Mhm.
it was a pleasure having you on the show. Uh,
Same here. Thank you
know
for
that
having
you
me.
can come anytime you're ready to come. You have my number, you have my contact. You can come and share if you feel like because I mean, your role is, yes, you see people one on one, but it's also very good when people see the people that have been seeing them live speaking and in educating. So whenever I try to do these health programs more often than regular. And know that you have a home here whenever you want to come and talk about whatever it is you want to come and talk about that has to do with health and getting people back to tip top shape. You can come here. All right.
Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
It was
Thank
lovely
you.
having you, and have yourself a wonderful evening.
Yes, you
Bye
too.
bye.
You too.
Guys, that's it. That's it. for this episode here this evening. We want to say special thank you to every single one of you who tuned in. Those of you who shared, how many of you shared the live? Like, put up your hands for me. How many of you shared the live and let somebody know that this is what they should do? Tag a friend. How many people did you send this video to? How many people that you say you love, you shared this video with? Right? We say we love people, but sometimes we're too selfish. Share the information with them, especially if you heard something that you probably were speaking to them about, or they were sharing with you recently, and it's a moment for them to get up and really do something about it and get their health checked. I want to say thank you to all of you who commented, those of you who thanks Dr. Lewis for sharing the live, and all those of you who shared. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate you guys. I want to say special thank you to Dr. Meade, who came on and shared with us, taking time out of her schedule to really educate us on why it is so very important to pay attention to certain things in our body, taking care of ourselves, getting our annual checkup, making sure that we're not taking drinking alcohol when we're taking medication, making sure that we're not stopping our medication, especially with carnival just around the corner. Drink water and mind your business. This is your business, right? Your health is your business. So make sure you take care of yourself. I want to say special thank you to the RAYASTA Foundation for allowing us to have this program, to educate the public. It is very important that, if you have not, make sure you go follow, like, subscribe to the RAYASTA Foundation. You can also follow the website at rayastafoundation.org. You can research, or you can reach out to them if you're looking or you're thinking about being a caregiver, or you want to just be informed on how you can take care of somebody, because it can happen to anybody. It can happen to somebody in your home, it can happen to you. Anybody around you can get a stroke, right? And it's better to be safe than sorry. She said, for a cool wash. Yes, I for a cool wash, because we like to tell people we love them and we care about them, but we only like to tell them that when they're in good health. When they're sick and shorting, we disappear. Nous can disparaître. We flying like sukuya. We need to look out for our people. Share the live with folks. If you're rewatching this, share this with somebody. Let somebody know. Also, ladies, take care of your men. Let them know that they need to go get there. They need to go get checked. I say not loud for people to know, people to hear. They need to go get their annual checkup, right? They need to. Joven just come there and tell him, go and get checked. He laughing. Go and get your annual checkup. Do not wait when it's too late, because you see more coconut. Okay, make you want to facts quick, fast, and in a hurry. Super katan. Joven laughing. You're not laughing? He said you're not laughing. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and for following this program, and for sharing this live. And thanks to the RAYASTA Foundation again. I'm saying goodbye. I will be back tomorrow. So tomorrow we have Mr. Ridge is going to be coming in on exclusive interviews. We're going to be talking. Let me tell you, the last time I had Ridge on a program, he was with Suki. That was a couple of years ago. And we had a very, very interesting and engaging conversation. And I'm looking forward to having him on tomorrow, because we're going to talk everything. Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. If you'd like to support my shows, so we have Rich tomorrow. We have DJ 5.0, which is a young 15-year-old DJ that's causing waves. He's Dominican parentage. He's going to be joining us on Thursday. On Friday and Saturday, we have the Junior Monarch, Calypso, as well as the Bouillon. Participants are going to be coming through. Those two shows will be co-hosted with my son will be my co-host. So Jojo will be co-hosting with me on Friday and Saturday. He's going to be on with me. We're going to be talking to the competitors of the participants in the Junior Monarch competition that's this weekend. So we got a busy next couple of days. So Ridge, DJ 2.0, DJ 5.0. We have the Monarch, Junior Monarch, Friday and Saturday. We have a busy week coming up. If you want to support, you can do so. You can support me by also sharing some love. Hello. Bills got to get paid, right? Bills got to get paid. So saying good night until such time when I see you back here tomorrow. All right. Bye bye, guys.